No, we ready to get into this video, but before we get into this video, look at this comment right here. It says, y'all probably can't even see it, but it says, and they found you amusing for a while, the people of the city, but the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail. Fail, fall, see a hero fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. That's from Norman Osborn in Spider Man. Him and Spider Man was talking. Well, Spider Man, I think, was unconscious.
WWE fans have long memories, and when it comes to Cody, they remember his contradictions. He painted his WWE departure as a liberation, told the world he needed to escape to rediscover his worth, and then spent years taking veiled shots at the company that made him. He mocked the system, tore apart its creative structure in interviews, and styled himself as the face of rebellion. But when he came back, he didn't just return. He returned to pomp, open arms, and a spot at the very top. For fans who respected his independent journey, the full circle moment felt disingenuous. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a surrender wrapped in fireworks. The same company he once distanced himself from became the vehicle for the very legacy he previously rejected. That kind of flip, when not acknowledged with self-awareness or humility, builds resentment. It's not that he returned, it's how he returned, acting as if the last 5 years were just a prelude to a coronation rather than a part of his evolution. Cody's connection with the audience has always been tenuous because he doesn't project vulnerability in the way that resonates. Not the kind of vulnerability that comes from taking actual narrative risks. Instead, his idea of struggle often looks like pageantry, elaborately told tales of hardship that somehow still end in him holding the spotlight. When he gets injured, it's followed by heroic comebacks wrapped in slow-motion packages and voiceovers about destiny. When he loses, it's treated not as a failure, but as a step in a grander mythos. Wrestling fans can't always articulate why this rubs them the wrong way, but they feel it. It's the difference between watching someone fight for survival and watching someone pose as a martyr. In Cody's world, every bruise is a metaphor, and every setback a sermon. That kind of storytelling exhausts people who came for raw emotion, not rehearsed epics. The promos also feed into this fatigue. There's a self-important cadence to how Cody speaks, as if every segment is a Hall of Fame induction speech. While other wrestlers talk like fighters, rivals, or even agitators, Cody speaks like a presidential candidate, calculated, dramatic, and filled with pauses meant for applause that never fully comes. The emotion feels overproduced. His words aim for Shakespeare but land closer to soap opera monologue. Fans want grit, spontaneity, and moments that feel unpredictable. Cody instead offers essays dressed as promos, and while that might work for a segment or two, over time it becomes a drain. It's not just that he talks too much, it's that he talks in a way that tries to command reverence instead of earning it. And when reverence is demanded, wrestling fans tend to revolt. Cody's relationship with the audience isn't interactive, it's prescriptive. He tells fans what to feel, what the stakes are, and why it matters. He doesn't allow room for nuance or interpretation. That kind of rigid storytelling feels outdated in a world where wrestling narratives have become more fluid and open-ended. Look at how modern favorites like Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn interact with their stories. They allow ambiguity, failure, introspection. Cody's story, by contrast, feels like a brand guideline. Every promo, every graphic, every soundbite reinforces a predetermined script that leaves no room for spontaneity. Wrestling fans can accept a protagonist. What they reject is a walking advertisement masquerading as one. Cody's look and presentation also work against him in unexpected ways. On paper, he checks all the boxes. Chiseled, tall, well-dressed, symmetrical, but it's too clean. It evokes a kind of pre-approved image of what a wrestler should be, instead of something real. There's no unpredictability, no edge, no aesthetic chaos. He's the corporate prototype of a wrestling savior. And in an era where fans gravitate toward the unpredictable, think Seth Rollins' Joker-esque fashion, or even Roman Reigns' quiet menace, Cody's pristine appearance becomes a symbol of disconnect. He looks like he belongs in a WWE 2K cover shoot, not necessarily in a fight. Fans want someone who bleeds metaphorically and literally. Cody always looks like he's trying to preserve the legend even as he's still living it. There's also a certain cultural tension at play. Cody, for all his talents, leans into an old-school Americana, Southern wrestling ethos that doesn't fully resonate with the global and more diverse WWE audience of today. He speaks of tradition, legacy, patriotism, and sacrifice in ways that feel more suited for a territory system that died decades ago. While those themes can still resonate, Cody presents them without modern context. There's no edge to how he invokes Dusty's legacy, no irony or self-awareness, no contrast between the past and the present. It's nostalgia as doctrine, not as evolution, and fans who crave forward-thinking, dynamic storytelling find themselves alienated by that. The chants he receives, the what, the mixed reactions, the murmurs of disinterest stem from that emotional dissonance. Fans don't boo Cody out of pure hate. They boo because they feel disconnected from what they're being sold. They boo because he represents an idea of wrestling that doesn't match their experience anymore. They boo because he stands on a pedestal that he built with bricks of sentimentality rather than bricks of struggle they can believe in. The boos aren't for the man. They're for the myth that keeps being shoved down their throats. Even Cody's backstage reputation has become a point of contention. Stories leak about his influence, about his desire for creative input, about the protective layer that surrounds his character. Whether true or exaggerated, these whispers shape fan perception. Wrestling fans, especially the hardcore segment, have become more attuned to what happens behind the curtain. When they sense that a performer is shielded from failure or immune to criticism, they respond with rejection. Cody, perhaps unfairly, has become a poster boy for that protected status. His losses never feel like real demotions. His feuds often end with him standing tall, emotionally if not literally, and his narrative arcs almost always find a way to validate his central thesis, that he's the rightful heir to some invisible crown. That's not storytelling, that's brand management. It also doesn't help that Cody's biggest supporters within WWE, the suits, the executives, the creative voices, often seem more invested in the idea of Cody than in the man himself. His matches are positioned as main events regardless of the organic crowd momentum. His segments open and close shows. He gets premium placement even when fan reactions suggest ambivalence. That kind of dissonance breaks the illusion. Fans begin to see the strings, and when that happens, they don't engage emotionally. They analyze, they scrutinize, and ultimately, they reject. Another overlooked factor is Cody's inability to generate genuine chemistry with many of his opponents. His feuds feel structured rather than volatile. The fire that fuels great rivalries often eludes him. His matches are clean, choreographed, and methodical, but rarely electric. There's a rhythm to how he works, but it's a rhythm that lacks chaos. Great wrestling moments come from unpredictability, from tension that crackles off the screen. Cody's bouts often feel like formal recitals of storytelling beats rather than organic battles. It's not that he's boring, it's that he's too polished to create edge-of-your-seat tension. Fans might respect the technical execution, but they don't walk away feeling shaken. His reliance on emotion as a storytelling crutch is another sticking point. Cody often treats his matches like emotional theater, with excessive grimacing, extended sell jobs, and tearful post-match speeches. That level of melodrama works when deployed sparingly, but Cody makes it his entire identity. Over time, the emotional moments lose power, the tears feel performative, the hugs seem rehearsed. Wrestling fans want to feel something, not be told to feel something, and Cody, in his desire to create moments, often skips the steps necessary to build emotional investment naturally. He cries in Act 1 instead of saving it for Act 3. Then there's his attempt to rewrite narratives that fans didn't co-sign. Finishing the story was never the audience's mantra, it was his. Fans didn't collectively demand that Cody win the title for Dusty. That was Cody's obsession. And when WWE began centering that narrative above all others, fans felt forced into a story they hadn't asked to be part of. It's a classic case of pushing a one-man journey as a universal epic. But in wrestling, the most powerful stories are those that emerge from the crowd's reaction, not those crafted in a marketing boardroom. The Yes Movement, Kofi Mania, Becky Lynch's meteoric rise, those were audience-driven moments. Cody's story feels like it was storyboarded 3 years in advance and never allowed to breathe. Cody's biggest problem isn't that fans hate him, it's that they never fully loved him. They tolerated him, they watched him, some even supported him, but he never sparked that visceral connection that defines legends. The greats, from Austin to Rock to Bryan to Reigns, made fans feel like they were part of the journey. With Cody, it always feels like we're watching his dream, not living it with him. He's on a quest for validation, but the fans are merely spectators to that pursuit. And in wrestling, the best moments come when fans feel like co-authors, not readers. As time goes on, that emotional distance only widens. The longer Cody sticks to the script, the more fans disconnect. The louder WWE pushes him as the face of hope, the more the audience looks elsewhere for authenticity. The more he talks about his mission, his sacrifice, his bloodline, the more fans crave something simpler. A punch thrown with conviction, a stare that says more than a paragraph. Cody's greatest flaw is that he never trusted the crowd to love him on their terms. He always tried to earn their love on his terms, and that's never how wrestling works. In many ways, Cody Rhodes is a fascinating case study in how not to build a modern babyface. He has all the tools, all the lineage, all the exposure, and yet he remains polarizing. Not because he's edgy, but because he's manufactured. Not because he challenges norms, but because he follows a blueprint that no longer resonates. He's a relic of a different era of storytelling, one that doesn't reflect the chaos, humor, and rawness of modern wrestling fandom. And until he sheds that blueprint, until he stops chasing statues and starts chasing reactions, he'll continue to be met with resistance. Even if he does eventually win the big one, even if the confetti falls and the pyro explodes, there will always be a segment of fans who feel nothing, because Cody's story, for all its grandeur, was never really about them. It was about him, his dream, his legacy, his father, his name, his nightmare. And wrestling at its best isn't about one man's story, it's about our story. Cody Rhodes, despite all his efforts, still hasn't figured that out.
Interesting. That was a lot more than I thought we'd get. Okay.